Our first entry into Spielberg. It's a weird one.
Yeah. It's not our first Spielberg movie. He got it wrong. We already reviewed Munich.
We reviewed Munich. I totally forgot about Munich. Welcome to the HolmFront. Welcome. I am your host. I feel like someone could gift that in a.
It's not supposed to do that.
What was that surprise? Like, I wasn't expecting this after all this work.
It said shake well. How was I supposed to know it would do that?
Shake well. Instructions unclear. We good? You good now?
Yeah, thirsty.
All
Sorry.
right. Yep. Welcome to the HolmFront. I'm Tyler, your host. And to my right, as always, is Mitch, my
Don't say it.
overly artistic friend. Okay, so I just introduced you to a film that I saw in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
What did we see?
We watched Ready Player One.
Ready Player One, as you probably saw in the thumbnail.
It was weird.
Initial thoughts. What do you got?
It was weird. It's probably one of the weirdest movies I think I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, qualify that. What makes it the weirdest?
It's just weird because they're constantly going into the world of the game.
Yeah.
Most of the movie takes place in that. And I understand that. I read the novel, so yes, I know that that's going to happen. But that doesn't make it less weird to look at. So the main character, his avatar is this like Cloud-esque character. So
You're
he
talking
looks
about
like,
aesthetically the Final Fantasy character Cloud.
he looks like Cloud from Final Fantasy with a mix of who's that like robot guy from that space movie where it's like a comedy. Oh, yes, he's from Spaceballs. There's like a robot guy who has this like weird like tinted.
Are you talking about the 3PO knockoff?
Yeah, that
okay.
character. He looks like a cross between him and Cloud. And it just looks weird. It looks really weird. It's a CGI fest movie, and I'm not a big fan of those. And I understand that that's like essentially what has to happen because of the premise of it.
Right.
But again, it just doesn't make it any less strange because when you're reading the novel, you just imagine the game. So it's not a big deal. You just fill it in with what makes sense for yourself. But in this, like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like it that much. Although I will say, weirdly enough, it actually does really well in the end when it starts to commit to this. And it's like, look, this is all going to be ridiculous. And then it's like throw a Mechagodzilla at you and all this other nonsense. And then you're like, all right, well, this is what I'm here for, I guess.
True. Yeah, I was on a date when I saw this. And I remember when that scene specifically happens. Because, like, I'm just... This person that I was on a date with didn't understand most of those references. Like, it just... But, you know, I grew up with Halo. I understand Overwatch. Like, I've played plenty of video games. I understand VR.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, I'm a huge fan of Iron Giant. So when Iron Giant shows up to fight Mechagodzilla and then a Gundam comes in to help... Because I used to play with the Gundam toys when I was a kid. I didn't watch the show, but I had all the toys. I probably still have them somewhere, actually. But that was it. I was like, oh, so good. So great. I was like glowing. She's like, you look like a little kid. And I was like, you don't understand the experience I'm having right now. The fact that Spielberg put this on screen for me is peak.
That's what's so strange about it is that it's a Spielberg movie.
I think, to me, that makes sense.
Explain. How does that make sense?
Because he created most of, like, our nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that putting together a piece of work that just shoves all the nostalgia together is just something he would have enjoyed doing. Like, he probably met the guy who wrote the book and understood all the references that the guy who wrote the book was making and was like, all right, I get it. Like, I put most of that stuff together, so of course I would get it. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely narratively below his quality. And it's a very interesting contrast when you're like, this is the guy who did Schindler's List. He's doing this goofy.
Or the other movie we reviewed, Munich, where
Yeah.
it's like hitmen going around, and it's this moral decay about the depravity of man. It's like, oh.
And then there's this one
over here, and it's a bunch of CGI video game characters. No, and it's odd. It's just very odd.
Okay, so let me go into this then. Since you weren't a huge fan, what did you like about it? Let's start there.
Okay.
What stood out to you as like, woohoo?
Okay, well, this is gonna be a weird comment, but actually, is this even something I like? I was just thinking about the changes from the book to the movie. I
Okay.
think there are some good changes he made. Like, the book makes such a huge deal out of the fact that the love interest has a birthmark on her face, and that's like, oh, makes her like so horrible to look at or something. Like, that's ridiculous.
It's like
Who
it's
would
like
ever think-
Farquaad to Shrek. Oh, it's
Yeah.
hideous.
It's just a donkey. Yeah, it's kind of like that where I don't know. It's just I understood why for her as a character, it's like
She's self-conscious.
you're self-conscious
Yeah.
about it because it's right on your face, so everybody can see it all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so that's an interesting, because she does this line, which to me in the theater really stood out, is when he finally meets her.
Mhm.
He is like he's simp embodied. That's all he is.
Yeah,
He barely
exactly.
knows this chick, and he's like, I am in love with it. I will do anything. And you don't even know
Yeah.
anything about this girl. You know what her avatar looks like, and that's about it. You've had a
Mhm.
conversation. Like, chill, dude. But he meets her in real life, and he's like, is this what you're complaining about? Like, this is not a big deal. And she's like, you don't have to pretend. And she walks off, and I was like, okay, everything up until this point I could deal with. The fact that he addresses it and is straightforward with you and is like, this is why, like, I don't, and then you not only confirm that that's why you're self-conscious, but you throw his compliment back in his face. I was like, that's way less attractive than a stupid birthmark. It's just the fact that you like refuse to acknowledge that he's willing to put it out there and be like, I don't care about a birthmark. I care about you.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, you care. You care, and it's horrible. And then it's like projecting this weird, horrible character onto this guy. And I was like, what does this guy do to deserve that? Like, why are you just assuming that this is how he is? It's
Yeah.
just, it was cruel. And
Well-
I didn't like it.
Well, that makes. But the thing is then it's over instantly, and they're in love. All right,
Right.
they're in love for the rest of the movie now. Like, we glossed over it, but that's literally how it happens. They're just like, all right, we're done with this now.
He's like, do you think a birthmark would keep me away or whatever? And then she's like, all right, we're in love, I guess. I was like,
Yeah, it's pretty much that fast.
didn't really earn that one, but all right.
I mean, it's only like their second interaction in the game that he confesses his love to her or something
Yes.
like that. Like, it's so
It might have been third.
fast.
It might have been third.
Maybe. But yeah, it really
What do you
wasn't that
do on a
much.
third date?
Not that.
I've never gotten past the third date, but I've always known by the third date. I don't know if
Always know.
there might be correlative. I don't know. Okay, so what else did you like about it?
I mean, I did like.
I love how much you're struggling.
Well, because it's like everything is just like it. The whole time I was watching this movie, I just kept thinking to myself, why?
Mhm.
Like, why is this a thing? This is just ridiculous.
So this is a conversation that we have regularly of this this idea of being original while maintaining that you are inspired by something. And this film, while it is fun on some level, does not have its own leg to stand on.
No.
It's not like it doesn't have any character of its own. Barely exists outside of references. It has to have all these other things to make it live. Like it's just it's like Super Smash Brothers in a movie.
Yeah.
It's just like without the other games that Super Smash Brothers references, you don't get the characters from it, so it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Same thing with this movie. It's like without every pop culture reference ever, this thing it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But it also doesn't really. The one thing I will say that it potentially speaks to, it's almost like it's a light one, but it's almost like a warning of consumerism. It's like, be careful how much you are pulling in, because eventually you're not going to be anything more than that.
Mm.
And that's the one that, like, and I'm reaching for it for sure. But it seems like at the end, it was kind of throwing that message out there of like, stop rejecting reality, but also make sure that you are having, like, these things are influences for sure, but make sure that you have a character. Like, and I'm not saying
Oh,
like an
yeah, yeah,
Avatar
yeah.
type thing, but make sure that you have good character
Yeah, I know
that
what
you
you
can
meant.
portray.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, like, you're nothing more than what influences you.
Right.
And it's kind of weird because the movie is that in itself. Like,
That's why it didn't work for
it's
me.
nothing more than what influences it. So it doesn't necessarily speak to the human condition, but I can see where he was trying to pull that in. And I'm wondering if it's just because like Spielberg's clearly capable of that. He knows enough about art to do
Yeah,
that.
of course.
But I think that with the limited source material, he's like, this is all I can get out of this. And the only way that he does it is at the end with the Halliday character.
I did love the Halliday character. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
hilarious.
Whoever they cast for that guy,
He's
phenomenal. When he comes out and the first joke he delivers, he's like, all right, let's stop talking about it and playing it. If you look under your chairs, you'll find that there's nothing there. And
yeah, it's a whole crowd of people. He's introducing his virtual reality, and he's this like, he's got like frizzy like hair
yeah.
and like big glasses, and all right, yeah, everyone, if you could, let's just try it, and then they're like all shaking their seats. Oh,
It's
they're
funny-
not there.
It's funny because Simon Pegg is like giving this speech, and he's like the business end of things.
Mm-hmm.
And Halliday's just sitting there like,
Yeah, he's just
it just finds no value in any of this because I just want to play a video game and I made one, so let's play it. And he
yeah,
has
he's
to
just
sit
the
through
nerd
boring
genius.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. And then he has an end scene that he talks to Parcel about things. We'll get into that later, but his character really kind of he
saves
every
the movie.
part. Yeah,
Like if there's redemption for this movie, it's because of him.
right.
Because every scene he's in, he's so convincing as the nerdy, antisocial kind of guy who just like loves games and he creates this masterpiece, but then he also just doesn't really.
He barely exists in reality.
Yeah, pretty much.
But he goes over that, which is interesting. I will say that the one thing that's kind of pervasive in the film is that Halliday basically glorifies pop culture, right? That's his existence. Is all these things that he can consume that have impacted him in some way. He doesn't quite know why or how, but he knows that they impacted him, and he wants to do that for the world. So he creates this thing that kind of emulates that, or allows for the possibility of them having the same experience as he had. But when he passes away and he creates this series of challenges, basically what he's done is he's opened this door to where people almost have to deify him. Because what he's done is he's put his whole life out on display in this library, which is every book he's ever read, every game he's ever played, every interaction he's ever had. They put it all in this library. People have to study him. They have to know him in and out in order to understand the clues that he set out in the world. So it's almost like this weird deification of himself.
Yes.
In order to... So not only is he encouraging the worship of pop culture, but he's also like removed a layer because these people only love it through him, right? They might love it at the end, but they don't experience it themselves. They experience what he loves in order to win this contest of the game. And so what they do is they go and they study every inch of his life. And through that, they experience all this stuff. And so they end up loving it. But it's only through him that they do it. And so it's like this extra meta thing where it's like, these things all mean something to us for a reason, but they don't have the same reason for those people in that world.
Yeah.
They mean something to them because it meant something to Halliday.
Yes.
And so it's like this weird... So it's almost a commentary on itself, and maybe even unintentionally. Because these things like are subjective or objectively subjective, subjectively objective video. I'm forgetting which direction we had it. We were talking about what makes art, right? And it has those categories. One, that it speaks to human condition, that it's aesthetic, that it's beautiful.
Right.
These are things that speak to us on multiple different levels, right? And it even if we don't necessarily know which one it is, we can receive that, and it gives us this kind of, I don't know, experience, I guess, for lack of a better term. We can understand what it's speaking to. And one of the most common is like the hero's journey, where it's that call to action into something greater, to become something greater. This one, it just removes all of that. And it's a couple levels of disconnect.
Hmm.
And so all it's doing is just throwing in all the things that you recognize without giving it any more meaning or even addressing its meaning.
Hmm.
It just shows you the man that was impacted by all of it.
You dig very deeply into this movie.
I'm interested in the fact that, like, what this movie is and what made it be.
Yeah,
It's this thing. It's like it's sitting in a room full of mirrors, and all it can
mm-hmm.
do is just reflect back at itself. There's nothing else. There's no depth.
That's a
There's
great
no real
analogy.
meaning to it. It's just
Yeah, no, that's a great analogy. I mean, for me, that's partly why it fails because it's just not an original piece, is what it feels like.
sure.
And the kind of end, point where it's like, okay, well, yeah, this games and our pop culture stuff is all entertaining and fun, but you got to spend some time in the real world. And then you recognize that the entire film was spent just in the world of the game
Yeah.
and just inundated in all this pop culture stuff. So it doesn't seem like a message that really lands because the real world consequences were just like this blip in the
Yeah.
larger story. So it doesn't have the impact that it's trying to communicate. If he wanted that message, I think not to say he needs to go full on Schindler's List on this, but a little bit in that direction
It's just the
might have helped.
Matrix. It zooms back
Kind
out.
of. Yeah, well, like, you just see more, like, it should have a more critical lens of, like, human society. It has a critical lens on, like, the current state of civilization because it's like the future where everything is just destroyed and it's just the world is a junkyard. That's this author's vision of the future, which
Sure.
is like, okay.
But that's kind of like the Wall-E type thing, right? Is that they've all
Yeah.
just immersed themselves in something that's not actually real, that they don't care anymore about what's actually real.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that one scene where the mom is in that fight or whatever, and the stove is on fire behind her, and the
Yeah.
kid's trying to get her attention. She's go tell your dad.
Yeah, yeah.
But then she dies in the game
In the
anyway.
game. Yeah, yeah. Loses all her points or whatever.
She zeroes out. She loses everything she put in the game. It definitely had its moments. It's a fun film. Do you
It
think you
is.
ever watch it again?
No. I would not want I wouldn't care to watch it again. But I mean, like, that said, like, I was having a lot of fun in the last like 30 minutes because that's when there's more holiday.
Hmm.
Like that's when it was really, really getting fun. Because that character, he's just so because he's real. That's the whole thing. And maybe that's part of the movie's like I guess inadvertent success because it's like everything you're looking at is just so fake. Like even the character, like I said, the romantic thing, it's like this is just fake. This isn't real.
Right.
And then you get to that character, and I'm like, I've seen him. I've seen him in a TED Talk where he's this awkward guy who shows up, but he's kind of a genius in a weird way. So it's like it added up to someone who like does work and come from reality. And it's interesting that he's the one part of this movie that
He's
is
been in an actual TED Talk?
no. I'm just saying
I see.
that
I
I've
see.
seen,
Okay.
lots of people in real life who
Okay.
felt like this. Like he just comes out of the screen and suddenly I'm like, wow, he's like a real person. Like I could believe that Holiday was a real dude. But yeah, I don't think it redeems it. I mean, you're not wrong, like, because the things you're pointing out are like they're there even if the film isn't conveying it in such a way as to go like deep with it. Like the analogy you point out from that scene, like it is in there. It's just all the schlock you got to get through till that really comes to light. Because I mean, like, let's be real. There's this massive race scene early on, which is actually pretty cool. Like it's cool, but I don't think it really is saying much. It's just like, well,
It's not
this is
saying
the
anything.
race, right? Yeah, it's just kind of part of it. And so when you compare the ratio of runtimes, that's where it makes it kind of an odd question. But I do think, I think I compared with the book. Weirdly enough, I actually like the book better, which is extra strange because I usually like the movie better. Believe it or not, I know that's like
Fair.
so contrary, but if I don't like your writing style, it's just like you're dead to the world. To me, you don't even exist. So and I'm so picky about.
It's
writing
also
style.
weird on a second level because it's a Spielberg film.
Yeah, and I do like Spielberg a lot. But yeah, see, here's the thing: the book has some stuff in it that is like kind of. Well, it's very clearly, obviously not going to be in the movie. To put it that way.
Okay.
Because he like.
What's an example? What would not be in the movie that's in the book?
Well, I mean, he like he has like a fight with his girlfriend. Like he actually handles the relationship a lot better in the book, even though the ending is just as ridiculous as it was in the movie.
Okay.
But like he leads it on. There's more dynamic interactions throughout the story. And then like at some point they get a fight and they break up, and then he goes on this like sort of life path for a couple of chapters.
Okay.
And this life path is very interesting because he kind of, I'll just put it this way. He buys some stuff online that's kind of like, oh, I'd rather not know that about a person.
Oh,
That's their
no.
private life.
Oh, boy.
So he kind of talks about that in the story, but I thought that was useful because this sort of idea of like, gamers being like incels or closeted people or whatever. Um, it's like, okay, so now we're getting into the like the extremity of that space, right?
Okay,
So
gotcha.
he was pulling that out a little bit, which I thought was interesting. But then he kind of gets his life together at some point. He's just like, this, I can't be doing this. And then he starts working out some more, and then like getting himself in shape, and then he gets back into the game and whatever. The rest of the story as it happens.
Okay,
So
so
there's like some of that kind of stuff that's kind of like a missed opportunity, I guess. Like obviously I know that's
sure.
why, but I'm just saying like maybe we could have done with a little less like Mecha Godzilla and Iron Giant and a little more of just the commentary of like people losing themselves in virtual realities. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so then coming from the gamer's perspective, because you far more of a gamer than I am.
Yeah.
um, do you think that this spoke to, I don't know, the condition? Well, I mean, I guess you're saying a little bit of that now is like, because I don't even see this necessarily appealing to even gamers. Like, it's not gonna have a message that appeals to them either. It's definitely gonna tickle their fancies. They're going, oh, that's Overwatch. Oh,
Yeah.
like, but otherwise, outside of that, it's probably not gonna get much more of a reaction to them either.
Yeah. I don't think, well, it's just not a very memorable movie is the problem. I mean, it just isn't. I mean, this is a pretty forgettable film, I think.
It has moment like Holiday, and then Iron Man versus Mechagodzilla is the only thing I'm really gonna remember from it.
Pretty much, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I just feel like it's too. He just doesn't have enough like he's having too much fun. It feels like he's having
Mm.
too much fun and
So
not
this
enough.
this one embodies the like roller coaster of a
Hmm.
film rather than
Yeah.
who was it that made that comment?
Oh, Martin Scorsese.
Scorsese.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where he said Marvel movies are theme park rides. Yeah, this is like a theme park ride kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it has the right message at the end, but it just doesn't really land in a meaningful way. There's no real consequences, like, because nobody dies really. Because I mean, like some characters die, but you hated them anyways, so it was like, all right,
You're talking about what do you mean by dying? Because I don't think anybody dies in the movie. Oh, you're talking about his aunt or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, they get killed, but it's like, I mean, it's
Because
like
it
I'm not even spoiling anything. She's in it for like all of what 20 seconds of the entire
not
runtime of the
even.
movie.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Yeah,
I will say it tries to make a bunch of these comparisons that even the main character's father seems like he was just kind of inundated with fantasy almost because he names him Wade Watts, and the reason he does is because he's like, yeah, it's kind of like a comic book hero like Bruce Banner or
yeah,
anyway. So he has like these elements of pop culture influence that bleed through, and that's probably how he's raised, and then he loses his parents, so like he's supposed to kind of embody the like the orphan child that has the call to action to become a hero. But in this world, it falls really flat because like his call to action doesn't feel like it has any weight to it. Like it's funny because at the end they have
yeah.
this weird contrast where he's in the world, it seems
Mhm.
cool. He's on planet Doom and he's calling for everyone to come join him in a fight against IOI or whatever. But then it switches over to what he's actually doing, and he's just kind of walking back and forth in the back of this van. And like the contrast of import is interesting because in the virtual world, not reality, it's really important. But outside, it's like he's just in the back of a van, just doing this weird speech to. I mean, everyone can
Yeah.
hear him for sure. It could be thousands and thousands of people, but it's not. I don't know. It looks like you're watching someone play a game, and to them, it's important because they're invested, they're
Yeah,
immersed.
yeah.
But to us, we're like, I'm not playing. I don't care.
Right.
And so it kind of like it's like you're watching a gamer play a game.
Yeah,
You're like
yeah.
watching a Twitch stream for this hour and a half or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's a part of it that feels that way, and that's just not very compelling cinema, to
True.
borrow from Scorsese there. I guess that's sort of like the innate problem with adapting this particular novel, right? Although to be fair, the novel does have other references to pop culture, not just games, and the film does too. Like there's this whole sequence where they go into the movie The Shining, and
Which okay, so that's the other part I'd remember. That
yeah,
part's great. It's just hilarious.
yeah. I mean, it's funny. I wonder what Kubrick would think of that. What would he say to that? I have no idea.
Oh, he'd probably hate it. I'm sure Steven Spielberg hates it too. But I mean, it doesn't have much to do with The Shining. It just references The Shining.
Spielberg hates the fact that he did that in his own movie?
Oh, no, not Spielberg. I'm sorry. King.
Oh,
there you go. Yeah, I got the Stevens mixed up. Sorry, guys.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I mean, from what I understand, I mean, the claim in the film is that Stephen King hates The Shining in general. But then
he has gone on record saying that.
I'm sure. But then the reference to it is so devoid of anything to do with The Shining. Like it shows you like a perfect mock-up of the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It shows you the bloody elevator scene, and then it shows you the twins, and then you go into room 237. But that's about it.
Yeah,
and he runs through
the
maze
a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, there's like stuff in it, but they don't like do a play-by of the entire film. Yeah.
I will say we're coming to the end of the substance of the movie, so it's therefore more difficult to speak about it.
Well, I keep having a thought, and then it just kind of
I'm sorry,
flitters away. But
I keep interrupting you.
So, all right. So, do you feel like it's not the worst Spielberg picture? It's like a close second. That's what I feel.
Wait, what's the worst?
Well, the worst is The Color Purple. That's a terrible movie. That's not.
You sure it's not AI?
No, AI is much better than both of those movies.
Oh, okay.
AI is not a great movie, but like AI is. It still takes you to a weird place, I guess. So you could come out with some kind of weird, like, odd, and like I might stew on that a little bit.
Sure.
Maybe give me a weird, uncomfortable feeling. But like The Color Purple just hasn't aged well at all. It's just I don't know. I thought it was very tone deaf. Like I got how it would have worked in its time, but watching from a modern lens, I was like, this is like an attempt to tell this story and not one that knows how to do it at all.
I've never seen it. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's not very good.
Well, we'll have to do a review on that one. But yeah, this one, it's tough to say worst because like at the end of the day, it is fun. But you're right, it is like a too much fun kind of. There's almost zero substance because of it.
Now there is opportunities, but this is where I actually feel like it might have been better if it was someone directing who like this is a weird case where I actually feel like Spielberg wasn't a good choice.
Weird.
I think the advantage of having Spielberg is that you get the film made in the first place because no one else is going to sign up because you have to get way too many people to okay you their properties. Like you got to get Gundam in there. You got to get the rights to the Iron Giant. You got to get the rights to Godzilla. You got to get the rights to Back to the Future. You got to get the rights to this and to that. So getting all of that, I mean, Spielberg is in a position where he can actually do that. But someone who has a personal background in gaming and can do film, that I think would work a lot better. Like I think Ken Levine would have been a much better choice to like adapt the screenplay. He's the guy who wrote BioShock, and he's a stage play writer by trade. So, and the writing for BioShock is actually really, really strong. It's the big claim to fame that game in particular has. He has this really amazing twist in it that really does comment on the nature of what you're doing and the fact that you're playing a game. And so I feel like it kind of needed a little bit more oomph in that department. And like this is obviously me pushing for more meaning out of the story. But here's the thing. Here's what you could do. You've got this like organization, this corporate overlords that have like they just have a bunch of goons or slaves, I don't know, and they just like put them into the world of the game. And this was in the book too, like I remember, but it was just as ridiculous then. but they have them like, they hook them up to the game and they make them try to like win the contest. And then when they die, it's like, well, you just have to get back in there and they need to replace. And then they lock them into these cells and they have to like, they're just like
Yeah,
goofing
they're
around.
basically indentured servants to
Yeah.
pay off their debts. And you have to work out until a certain point, to pay it off.
Mhm.
And until then, you're locked into this cage, and you got to do your work until you pay it off, and then you can go. And like they try and bring that into like this kind of, I don't know, corporate greed, capitalism taken to its like furthest end, but it's like it just doesn't feel.
Well, it's a lot of fun.
Sure,
There's
it's
some
funny.
good hilarity. There's
Sure.
a lot of humor in it. But yeah, it doesn't come across as very genuine. But there are a lot of corporate battles between gamers and corporate all
Sure.
the time.
Right.
We're
But
constantly
this
at
is
war.
taken to like its extreme.
Yeah.
As opposed to like we don't like how much the new Switch costs. It's just
Yeah.
what if we enslaved people to play the game to win? All right.
Yeah, I mean, because there's this one part in here where I was like, okay, this is on point more of this, where he's like, once we take over the Oasis, we've calculated that we can fill up the player's user interface.
We could fill up 80%
of it with ads
before
they have a seizure. That spoke to gamers, I guarantee it.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what it's like, is they just like add you to death, or they'll just like there was like a whole joke when Elden Ring came out, because it's this big open world game that everyone was playing. But so many other companies have been doing open world games. And so the big joke was, it was a meme. They were like, if Elden Ring had been published by Ubisoft, and Elden Ring, you see like the contrast. And normally it's just your character in the world, and that's all you see. Maybe your health bar, but that's only temporary. So when Ubisoft has it, there's a health bar, there's like icons, there's a mini map, there's like text on the bottom. It's just like there's this whole side window of like dialogue, someone's telling you arrows, go here, do this. It's just like treating you like a freaking moron. But that's what those games get like, because it's an industry where there's not a lot of oversight. So it's just this like pirate scape. It's just this Wild West land where people just produce whatever. And this is why gamers get so impassioned about what you purchase and what you don't, because they're like, look, when you go out and buy the next Ubisoft crap, that gives them support to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And to just keep dumbing everything down. And the rest of us can't enjoy this medium the way that we would like to. So, and it's profoundly different from something like film. Because film, like, yeah, it's the same kind of thing, but you don't really know what you're getting with a film. Whereas a game, you can find out exactly what you're going to get before you go and play it. Like, you just look online and watch someone who's streaming it, right?
Sure.
And then you'll get a good sense for what's in that game. So, they're in this constant battleground with them, and that could be an interesting commentary to dissect what's happening there, this cultural disconnect between corporate overlords and gamers. It sounds silly, but in a very real and practical way, I mean, it's a pretty large industry. It generates a lot of money, more than Hollywood. So it's put in that context, like, it has some bearing on our economics. There's something there, but I just don't know if this film was quite ready or even really interested. I think
it wasn't
was
even
just
capable, I don't think. It didn't quite have the space to do that. The commentary that you would have from gamers is that you're wanting a pure experience of this game rather than being inundated with what a corporate entity is trying to get from you, right?
Yeah.
In our opinion, it's like, no, I paid for the game. That's my interaction with you, and now I will go and enjoy the game. And if it's good enough, you will have proven yourself that the next title you produce, I will consume. But with the corporate overlords, they're like, well, yes, but this is just our foot in the door. He's bought our game. And now we just chuck everything we can at him, and he'll buy something. Because it's just a numbers game. And to them, it's just like, and that's what he was saying, is that we could fill up 80% of their field of vision before inducing seizures. It's like something he'll be interested in amongst all these things we've clouded his vision with. He'll pick something, and then we'll get more money from it. And he just like squeeze until they're dry.
Yeah.
And that's the battle back and forth, because in our opinion, like when I buy a game, I'm just buying the game to play the game. It's like the same if I bought a book. I'm buying the book to read the book. I don't want to be like paused and be like, you want this too? It's no, but I mean that's a little bit of a weird example just because a book's like a physical copy as opposed to digital where
Yeah.
you have all these open lanes. But that was the big controversy with Battlefront was that they introduced this new thing, this microtransaction thing where they could nickel and dime you to death after you've purchased the initial game.
Right.
And for those of the people that had money to burn were able to just buy their way to the top.
Yeah.
Whereas other gamers who wanted to actually put in the time could earn that more prestigious position.
Yeah.
And that was another bit of commentary from this film is that there were those that had put in the, like Parzival, for instance, the main character, had put in the time to learn about Halliday.
Yeah.
He had the knowledge, whereas IOI would just come in and pay him and be like, look, you got the key. I'll give you $10 million right now if you give me these secrets. You win this game for us, but we at the end get the game. And to him, he understood that if they did that, if they got the game, then they would corporatize it out the wazoo rather than allowing people to have the pure experience.
Yeah.
And so that was his fight. That was
so
like
gamers rise up.
Gamers rise. Like, yeah, I mean, like there are moments of that allude to those type of things, but there's not enough in there for it to be like a, I don't know, purely artistic film.
A quick comment on that, and I think this could tie into it though, is that you're mentioning Star Wars Battlefront. I think part of the reason the backlash for Star Wars Battlefront was so bad because for a lot of people, more like casual people who don't play games that often, they hadn't really been aware of the microtransaction scene. So they signed up to play expecting Star Wars Battlefront to be just like it was in the old days. And it wasn't. It was just different.
Yeah.
And it was, give us the moolah. And so they saw that and was like, I don't want to do that. What is this crap?
Yeah.
Because it had happened in plenty of games before that point, but there was that big cultural push when that game came out, and it was just like, no, absolutely not. I'm not doing that.
Sure.
So I think it's interesting that how, that outsider perspective looks at it and goes, wait, what? As opposed to people who are maybe more involved. But, it could kind of go both ways. Like there's a lot of instances where you might buy a game and start buying into something like, well, I guess that's just like the norm. And then there's other people who follow the industry or play lots of games and they go, wait a minute, no, you're being overcharged for that.
Yeah.
You could get it this way. You could do that. There's so many other avenues.
Yeah.
Like what's happening with the Switch right now. So many people are just saying like, just go get a Steam Deck. It makes no sense. And then everyone else is like, well, I don't know. They're not aware. And that's fine. But, it's just interesting how it's an industry where it's just, what can we get away with? That's constantly how that one operates. It's like, well, maybe I could sneak around here and get a little cash out of them this way.
Yeah.
And you don't want to think that they're that slimy, but they are. I mean, that's what they keep doing. What else are you supposed to believe?
Well, and it's slimy too, because it's like, it's just $1. It's just $2. It's just $5. Like, just a little bit more, You can just get this while we're here.
Like, no, I spent $60. There
right.
you go.
I already bought your game.
That's what it cost.
We had an agreement, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like there could have been like more. I don't know what you would say with that, but I guess like maybe part of it is like maybe he's just trying to be respectful to the novel and be like, well, the novel's not going to go into deeply, so I'm not going to either.
Maybe.
But then he does change things, like the whole Shining thing. I don't remember that from the novel.
I haven't read the novel, so I can't speak to it. But
it's like this other reference where it's like a song or something like that.
Okay.
But like I don't know music very well, so it made no sense to me going through that scene.
Gotcha.
But so like in this I got because I had seen The Shining, so that was like, okay, well this works for me. But that's like the inherent problem is like if you don't know the references, a lot of this is just gibberish to you.
Sure. But they have enough references that it's going to speak to
that you'll get something.
Anyone, yeah, at some point. So I think that's probably the problem with it, though, is that they just want someone to get something rather than trying to tell an actual, creative narrative.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's fun. It is fun to just watch, just to like poke out things you recognize. Like there's that scene where he gets like shot and like then his armor like appears briefly. And it's just like the way the armor works in Mass Effect because it only shows up when you get hit.
Yeah.
And it like appears. But like the shape and the contours of it, I was
and
like.
The color, yeah.
And the color, yeah. I was like, that's exactly like Mass Effect. I recognize that one. But that was all it was for Mass Effect. Just that like little brief moment.
Yep.
So like I caught that reference. And then it's like this game you play with the movie. Maybe that was his intent. Play the game. Play the movie.
See how many references you can catch in the watch through. And it is fun for that. Like,
It is a fun movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you could play a game with it. You take a shot every time you get a reference. You will be hammered drunk. Don't do that. Do not do that.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, if you're super nerdy, you will die.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you have anything else to say on it? I think
No, do
there
you?
wasn't much to say.
It's not his best work. It
No.
is what it is.
Thanks, Steven. I appreciate the roller coaster ride.
I mean, he's earned a fun movie. If he wants to make a fun movie,
yeah,
he's
of
earned
course. He did a good job.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for watching. So you made it to the end of the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought.